Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into another corner of the coffee world. Today, we're going to be talking about Ristretto.
Ooh, Ristretto.
It's one of those things that I feel like a lot of people have heard of. Like they see it on the menu at their local coffee shop,
Right.
but maybe they don't actually know what it is or what makes it so special.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are intimidated by it.
Yeah.
They think it's going to be like super strong or bitter or something.
Yeah, and they're not totally wrong. It is strong,
True.
but it's not necessarily bitter.
Yeah.
So, I guess before we get too deep into it, let's just back up a sec.
Okay.
What exactly is a ristretto for people who are totally new to this?
So basically, a ristretto is a restricted espresso.
Restricted.
Yeah, like literally the word ristretto means restricted in Italian.
Oh, interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's made with the same equipment and the same coffee beans as regular espresso.
Okay.
But we use less water and a shorter brewing time.
Gotcha. So you're concentrating the flavor even more.
Exactly. It's like espresso, but more intense, more concentrated.
Ooh, okay. So this is for the serious coffee lover then.
I mean, you don't have to be a coffee snob to enjoy a ristretto.
Sure.
It's just for anyone who wants to experience, like, the full potential of the coffee bean.
Okay, I like that. The full potential.
Yeah, you get all those nuances of flavor, all the sweetness and the complexity.
But hold on, if it's more concentrated, doesn't that mean it also has way more caffeine?
That's actually a common misconception.
Really?
Yeah, because you're brewing it for a shorter amount of time, you actually extract less caffeine.
What?
That doesn't make sense. I know it's kind of counterintuitive, but it's true. So you get this intense flavor without the jitters.
Okay, well, that's a game changer for me. I'm always trying to avoid the caffeine jitters.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious now. When would you choose a ristretto over a regular espresso? Is there a right time or a wrong time?
Well, it really depends on your personal preference and what kind of coffee experience you're looking for. If you want something that's bold and intense, but also smooth and sweet, then Ristretto is a good choice.
Okay, so it's not just about being strong. It's about those other flavors, too.
Exactly.
Now, I got to ask, because I've always been a little intimidated by making espresso at home.
Yeah.
Is it even possible to make a ristretto at home?
Yeah.
Or do you need, a fancy espresso machine and years of training?
You definitely don't need years of training,
Right.
but you do need a decent espresso machine
Okay.
and a good burr grinder.
Yeah, I've heard that's important.
It's crucial. And you want to grind the beans really fine, almost like powdered sugar.
Wow, powdered sugar. Okay.
Yeah, and a scale is also really helpful for measuring everything precisely.
So we're talking serious precision here, not just eyeballing it.
Nope. Ristretto is all about precision.
Okay. I'm starting to understand why people are intimidated by this.
Hmm?
But I'm also kind of intrigued now.
That's the spirit.
So, I guess what I'm wondering is, what are some of the things that can go wrong when you're making ristretto at home? What are the biggest pitfalls people should watch out for?
Well, one of the most common mistakes is not grinding the beans finely enough.
Okay, yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and another mistake is uneven tamping.
Tamping, right.
Yeah.
That's where you press the grounds down in the portafilter.
Exactly. You want to create a nice, even surface for the water to flow through.
So it's like making a little coffee puck.
Yeah, kinda. And if you don't tamp evenly, the water will find the path of least resistance, and you'll end up with a weak shot.
So you're saying tamping is crucial.
It's one of the key steps to making a good ristretto.
Okay, I'm taking notes over here. This is a lot to remember.
Don't worry, it's all about practice.
So let's say we've got our espresso machine, our burr grinder. We've ground our beans perfectly, and we've tamped them like pros. What's next?
Now it's time to brew.
Okay. And how do we know when it's done?
You want to aim for a shot that's about 15 to 20 milliliters.
Okay, so pretty small.
Yeah, it's a concentrated shot, and it should take about 15 to 20 seconds to brew.
Okay, so we're watching the time and the volume.
Exactly.
Wow, this is really like a science experiment.
In a way, it is, but it's also an art form.
Okay, I like that. A coffee science experiment with a touch of art.
That's Ristretto in a nutshell.
I can't wait to try it. I'm already feeling more confident about tackling this whole ristretto thing.
That's great to hear. And once you've mastered the art of brewing Ristretto, there are so many delicious ways to enjoy it.
Ooh. Okay, spill the beans. What are some of your favorite ways to drink ristretto?
Well, you can always savor it straight, of course.
Yeah, just like a regular espresso.
Exactly. But it also adds incredible depth to milk-based drinks like lattes and cappuccinos.
Oh yeah, I bet it would cut through the milk really nicely.
It does. And you can also use it to make some amazing desserts.
Ooh, like what?
Well, have you ever had an affogato?
Oh my gosh, yes. Ice cream with a shot of espresso poured over it.
Exactly. And ristretto makes an even better affogato because it's so intense and flavorful.
Mm. Okay, you're speaking my language now. Ice cream and coffee. That's my kind of dessert.
And you can also use ristretto in tiramisu or mocha mousse or even coffee cocktails.
Wait, ristretto cocktails, that's a thing.
It is, and it's amazing.
Wow, I'm learning so much today.
It's a whole world of coffee waiting to be explored.
This is making me rethink my whole coffee routine.
Good. It's always fun to try new things.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Mhm.
We've talked about what ristretto is, how to brew it, and even some fun ways to enjoy it.
Right.
But before we get too carried away, I think we need to take a little break.
Sounds good.
But don't worry, we'll be right back with even more ristretto insights.
And we're back, ready for more ristretto adventures.
I'm so ready. I feel like we just scratched the surface before the break.
Yeah, we did. We talked about brewing and a little bit about how to enjoy it.
Right. But I want to know more about, like, when to choose a ristretto over a regular espresso. Like, is it always better?
That's a great question. It's not really about better or worse. It's more about what you're in the mood for. Think of it this way. Ristretto is like a fine wine. You savor it. You appreciate the complexity.
Okay, I like that analogy.
While espresso is more like your everyday cup of joe, still delicious, but maybe not as nuanced.
So it depends on the occasion. But if I'm going for ristretto, what are some ways to really make it shine?
Oh, so many options. If you're into milk drinks, ristretto is incredible in lattes and cappuccinos. It really punches through the milk, and you get this amazing depth of flavor.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine that my usual latte can sometimes feel a little weak on the coffee flavor.
Exactly. But with ristretto, you get that richness and intensity without it being overpowering.
Speaking of intense, what about iced coffee? Does ristretto work there too?
Absolutely. It's perfect for iced coffee because the flavor holds up so well even when it's diluted with ice.
Oh, you're telling me I can have my iced latte and taste the coffee too?
You got it. And you know what else?
What?
Ristretto is phenomenal in desserts too.
Ooh, tell me more. I have a serious sweet tooth.
Remember the affogato we talked about? That's a classic. But you can also get creative and use it in tiramisu, mocha mousse, or even make like a coffee-infused panna cotta.
Okay, you're speaking my language. So we got a lattes, iced coffee, desserts. Is there anything ristretto can't do?
Honestly, I haven't found it yet, but I will say there are a few things to keep in mind when you're making ristretto at home to avoid any mishaps.
Mishaps like what? You're making me nervous.
Don't worry, it's all fixable. One common mistake is using the same grind size as regular espresso.
Oh, right. We talked about that. Finer grind is key.
Yes. Because you're brewing for a shorter time, the water needs to be able to extract those flavors quickly, so a finer grind is essential.
Okay, what else? What other ristretto wisdom do you have for us?
Well, another thing is paying attention to the yield. That's like the amount of coffee that ends up in your cup.
Right. So how much are we looking for?
For ristretto, you want a shot that's about 15 to 20 milliliters.
Okay, so pretty small.
Yeah, it's concentrated. If you pull too much liquid, it'll be more like a regular espresso.
Gotcha. So a scale is pretty important for this.
Definitely. It helps you be precise and consistent.
Right, so grind size, yield, anything else we should be mindful of?
Don't forget about the beans. We mentioned fresh, high-quality beans earlier, but I can't stress enough how important that is for ristretto. Because we're using less water, those flavor nuances are really amplified.
Right, so we want those beans to be bursting with flavor. Any tips on finding the perfect beans for ristretto?
Talk to your local roaster. They can point you in the right direction based on your taste preferences. And don't be afraid to experiment with different roasts and origins.
Ooh, yeah, I love trying new coffees. It's like a whole world of flavor waiting to be discovered.
Exactly. And when it comes to ristretto, those flavors are just amplified.
I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I feel like I'm finally understanding the hype around ristretto.
It's definitely worth the hype. And, we haven't even touched on the world of ristretto cocktails.
Oh, right, you mentioned that before the break. Tell me more.
Well, ristretto pairs beautifully with certain liqueurs. Like, you can make an amazing ristretto martini with a hint of chocolate.
Ristretto martini, I'm intrigued.
Or how about a ristretto negroni? The bitterness of the coffee balances out the sweetness of the vermouth and Campari.
Now, those are some fancy drinks.
And if you want something a little simpler, ristretto and amaretto is a classic combination.
Okay, my to-do list just got a whole lot longer. But before we all run off to create our own ristretto masterpieces, we have one final tip to share that will truly elevate your experience. We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. All right, coffee enthusiasts, we are back and we've got one final ristretto tip for you.
This one is all about maximizing your enjoyment.
Ooh, maximizing enjoyment. I like the sound of that. So what is it? What's the secret?
It's simple, really. Preheat your cup.
Really? Just warming up the cup, that's it.
That's it. It makes a bigger difference than you might think.
Okay, I'll admit I'm a little skeptical,
Yeah.
but explain it to me. Why does a warm cup matter so much?
Well, think about it. Ristretto is this tiny little shot of concentrated coffee.
Right.
It cools down really quickly, especially if you pour it into a cold cup.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And when it cools down, the flavors start to dull and the aromas dissipate.
So you're saying that a warm cup helps to preserve those delicate flavors and aromas?
Exactly. It keeps your ristretto at the ideal temperature for longer so you can really savor every sip.
Okay, I'm starting to see the light now. But how do we preheat the cup properly? Is rinsing it with hot water enough?
A hot rinse is better than nothing, but for the best results, I recommend filling the cup with boiling water and letting it sit for a few minutes.
Okay, so like a little hot water bath for our cups.
Exactly. Then just pour out the water right before you add your ristretto.
Gotcha. So simple, yet so effective. I love it.
It's the little things that make a big difference.
Well said. So to recap, we've learned what Ristretto is, how to brew it at home, and even some creative ways to enjoy it.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But most importantly, I think we've demystified Ristretto and shown that it's not just for coffee snobs.
Anyone can enjoy a good ristretto.
Absolutely. All you need is a little knowledge, a little practice, and a whole lot of enthusiasm.
And a warm cup.
Right. Don't forget the warm cup. So if you're ready to take your coffee game to the next level, give Ristretto a try.
I promise you won't regret it.
And if you're looking for more coffee inspiration, or maybe you want to share your own Ristretto creations, be sure to visit our website, www.eateveryslice.com.
We've got tons of recipes, tips, and a whole community of coffee lovers over there.
So come join the fun. And that's it for this episode of The Deep Dive.
Until next time, happy brewing, everyone.